All I remember about your screen name is that it said Bionic, so I'm just going to call you the Bionic Woman.
Oh, if only that were true. Let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here. Now, apparently this guy made a video response to something I'd said to him a while back, and I'm only just seeing it now. Not sure why, but let's see what he has to say.
What you said at the beginning in response to the point I made about how if you're trying to pick a worldview...
First mistake. Atheism is not a worldview. It's an answer to one question view. It's not my fault that your religion comes with a shit ton of extra baggage.
If you're trying to pick a worldview, you have to, at the foundation, have a reason for why life has intrinsic value, and you disagreed with that.
That's right. Life does not have any more value than what we give it.
Because I think it's pretty self-explanatory why life has to have intrinsic value for your worldview to mean anything.
Wrong. The only reason that life would need to have intrinsic value for your worldview to have any meaning is if you wanted to remove the uncertainty about whether or not you're correct, and thus be completely justified in enforcing your worldview on other people.
There's an enormous assumption that atheists make when they have debate. If life itself doesn't have any more value than we give it, then our opinions or our ideas about reason and logic and having discussions doesn't have any more value than whatever value we give that.
So? I mean, sure, we've found true facts, but whether or not those facts have value depends on whether or not they have utility to the beholder. Without that, yeah, they're just bits of information. That's it.
Like you said, the test of a worldview should be if the facts are behind it. But that even assumes that following what's true or following what's factual matters.
Don't facts matter? I mean, if you're trying to accomplish a goal, the lack of facts can definitely get in the way. If you say to yourself, I'm going to sit underwater for 10 minutes and it definitely won't kill me, you're wrong. Now, this assumes that you value being correct and that you value your life, but those are separate issues to whether or not the facts make a difference.
When life itself doesn't have essential worth, our opinions about reason and logic and all these other concepts don't have any more value than we give them either.
Well, did it ever occur to you that that might just be tough luck? I mean, what I'm hearing from you is a kind of anxiety, or perhaps even fear, of uncertainty, of the unknown, of having to improvise. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that certainly sounds like what you're saying underneath the surface.
So many atheists think that if they argue for something, it matters. If you use what you think is reason or logic, you assume that people are supposed to care. But in a worldview where life itself doesn't mean anything unless we give it value, that doesn't hold water. It's not a legitimate argument at all.
You know what I don't get? Why is it life that has to have value in order for anything to have meaning? I mean, I can argue quite passionately that Star Wars kicks Star Trek's ass. And you know what? People care. People think it matters. And we don't ever discuss the value of life.
And it's not this idea that wishes aren't answers. It's not a wish.
Sure sounds like one to me.
If life doesn't mean anything, then our discussions don't mean anything at all.
You keep saying that, but you never actually justify it with any kind of facts, logic, or reason. Like I said before, it sounds to me more like an anxiety or perhaps fear of the uncertain.
If life itself, the only value that life has is if we give it value with our opinions, then the idea that God exists only has value because we give it, because it's an opinion.
Exactly. And like I said before, did it ever occur to you that that might just be tough luck? It sounds to me like that's something you're not willing to consider.
Because the majority opinion today is that God exists in some way, then God must exist.
I was going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that this was not what you yourself believed, that it was a continuation of your previous thought about atheist worldviews. But given your next statement, my gosh, you actually think this. You actually think a majority will make something real, make it true, bring it into existence.
Because the majority opinion today is that God exists in some way, then God must exist. And an atheist would disagree with that. And the reason they would disagree with that is because it's not based on what they believe to be reasonable and what they believe to be logical.
Or possibly because it doesn't fit the facts. You could run experiments to try to get a majority of people to just believe or wish something to be true, and then test to see whether or not it actually happened. It's not a matter of, I don't believe that to be logical. Well, it kind of is. But the truth is that if you run an experiment and it doesn't pan out, well, you don't have to care, but it's still not true.
Why in the world should I care about what you think about life?
Absolutely no reason whatsoever. Our values aren't the same. We're both individuals. But one thing you might want to care about is my opinion on what you think about life. Because I care about certain things in people. And if you try to hurt them, I'll rip off your arm and beat you to death with the bloody end. And you know what? That's actually a two-way street. I have to care about your values as well.
Or how you think I shouldn't believe in God. It doesn't matter if life itself doesn't matter beyond our opinion about it.
Oh, but it does matter. Remember what I just said about not harming me or the people I care about? Well, a lot of religions have that harm built right into their belief structure. I mean, hello, lesbian over here. How many religions have homophobia built right the fuck into them? Huh? And again, if you try to hurt me or the people I care about, I'll defend myself. I'll defend them. So yeah, you jolly well better care what I think about, assuming that you don't like being harmed yourself.
If enough of us believed that evolution wasn't true, then evolution would cease to be true.
No. Evolution would cease to be believed. Beliefs don't change facts. How do you not get this?
Christianity is a worldview that gives you intrinsic worth.
No. It assumes life has intrinsic worth. It doesn't prove it. It doesn't show it. I'm sure that must be really comforting to believe life has intrinsic worth, but you don't know that it does.
Then everything else is also only an opinion. That's it. That's where atheism destroys itself.
See, the problem here is that you're not actually discussing atheism. What you're on about is some weird sort of moral solipsism.
With the starting point of us, being here by no design, that anything that we say has any real worth.
And therein lies the problem. When you say something like real worth, what you're really talking about is objective morality, a morality that's built into the universe, that is not a matter of opinion. But that isn't what matters. What matters is whether or not something harms or benefits a person, and that will always be subjective. It'll always be a matter of perspective and opinion, and individual to each person.
The whole assumption behind that idea, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you die, is that this is it. Our life is all that there is.
And that clearly scares the unholy fuck out of you. But once again, that might just be tough luck.
It's all with an assumption that, hey, I'm saying something that's reasonable and something that makes sense, and because of that, you have to take me seriously, and you have to believe in what's reasonable and logical. No, I don't.
I don't know what more needs to be said. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think. Please take the time to rate this video. And hey, if you dig what I do, subscribe. And please visit my Zazzle store, where you'll find all kinds of BionicDance merchandise. Science. If you're doing it right, sometimes you'll find out you're wrong.